All right, we are now just 14 days away. 14 days away from the presidential election 2024. Boy, it is going to fly by. It already has. And that's it. Early voting has started, record numbers in certain states. So, that's always good. I was listening to President Trump. Check my audio. I was listening to President Trump just now speaking at a Christian conference, so I may play a little bit of that. Just wanted to play some of the Undertaker interview that Trump did too. But why not start here with RFK Jr.? This is what he said yesterday. Let's get real Donald Trump back in the White House and me to DC so we can make America healthy again. Of course, this brought up the McDonald's things. I've been waiting for Kennedy to comment on Trump's McDonald's skit or whatever you want to call it. So I'll play a little bit of this here. And I'm glad he did comment on it, not shying away from it.
I want to talk a little bit about the Make America Healthy Again aspects of addiction. I think last year, 110,000, 120,000 American kids who died from overdoses. It's a record. It's a crisis. We had 2,200 people die at the World Trade Center, and we committed $4.3 trillion to wars in the Mideast to address that, and much more money to the war on terror. This is killing 110,000 kids a year, twice the number of people approximately who died in a 20-year Vietnam War. And we need to address this issue. We need to recover these children. They're our most precious asset. In order to do that, we need to treat this issue with the same gravity that we treat our wars and our foreign policy crises and other crises in our lives. If you do a real risk analysis, this is a much greater, much more consequential risk to our country and to the things we value.
Very cool. So there he is. There's the man, Kennedy, out there front and center, talking about one of the most important things, if not the most important things, health. Because if you don't have good health, you don't have good people. You don't have good people, you don't have a country. But this is one that I also wanted to look at. This is an old video. This looks like RFK Sr. here at a drive-through fast food back in the day. And I thought this was great. This will be going into the book for sure. Here's what RFK Jr. says. Fast food is a part of American culture, but that doesn't mean it has to be unhealthy and that we can't make better choices. Did you know that McDonald's used to use beef tallow to make their fries from 1940 until phasing it out in favor of seed oils in 1990? This switch was made because saturated animal fats were thought to be unhealthy. We have since discovered that seed oils are one of the driving causes of the obesity epidemic. Interestingly enough, this began to drastically rise around the same time fast food restaurants switched from beef tallow to seed oils in their fryers. People who enjoy a burger with fries on a night out aren't to blame, and Americans should have every right to eat out at a restaurant without being unknowingly poisoned by heavily subsidized seed oils. It's time to make frying oil tallow again. And there is his father. And I'm going to look up what beef tallow is. I don't even know what that is, or if I'm pronouncing it right. Looks like you can buy it in bulk. How to make beef tallow? What I'm looking for is what is beef tallow? I guess maybe that's what I should put in. Yeah, I'm not finding it. Beef tallow, every use is everything you need to know. Let's see. This is from Bumblebee Apothecary. Beef tallow is one of my favorite traditional fats because it has so many benefits. Tallow is the homestead essential fat. It is amazing for cooking, skincare, household applications, and more. Today I'm going to tell you about beef tallow uses and many things you can do with it. Let's see. If If I was going to be stranded on a desert island, maybe in the middle of a prairie, what's the one thing I'd have to have? Tallow. Beef tallow is so versatile. When it comes to grass fed cattle, it has a lot of health benefits too. Let's explore beef tallow uses. There are lots of them. Let me just go through one here. What is tallow? Tallow is a term that refers to rendered animal fat, usually it usually from ruminant animals like cattle and deer. Rendering fat just means you get the free ebook right there. Rendering fat just means that the fat is cooked down and melted. Something people call rendered fat from other animals. Sometimes people call rendered fat from other animals tallow as well, such as beer tallow. I'm going to be talking about beef tallow here. What is the difference between lard and tallow? Lard usually refers to rendered pork fat. It is also a great traditional fat, but not quite as amazing as beef tallow. If you're curious about all the differences between tallow and lard, check out my post on tallow versus lard. Let me just drop this. Let me just put this, not dropping anything. I want to carry it correctly. I'm going to put the link to this article I'm reading in the chat if anybody wants to read it later. Tallow benefits. Beef tallow from 100% grass-fed cattle has a lot of health benefits. Grass-fed beef tallow is rich in so many beneficial nutrients. Here are some of the nutrients found in tallow from 100% grass-fed beef fat. Conjugated linoleic acid, CLA, which has a powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Minerals, fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, K, and B12. You can enjoy these nutrients when you use tallow in cooking or for skincare. Okay, so that it's a good grease. It's a good fatty grease. I like it. And again, there is RFK Sr. way back in the day, probably it looks like in the 60s, maybe even campaign on the campaign trail here. Pretty cool. Good stuff. So let's see if there's anything else Kennedy has said about health. Oh, here's a good one. This is always going to be good here. I'm just going to go back to the beginning. Thanks, at Real Donald Trump. That's right. We'll get it taken care of when we get you back in the White House and me in D.C. so we can make America healthy again. Let's hear what he's got to say. This is Trump talking to voters in the Bronx at a barber shop.
What is the plan to do about the food healthcare industry and getting the artificial foods banned in our urban communities that have less access to organic whole foods?
So Bobby Kennedy, right? Everybody likes Bobby. And he's so big into the health food and women things, everything. He wants to do things in the environment. And he endorsed me. The first time a Kennedy's ever endorsed a Republican. Maybe it's going to be the last, but I doubt it. And he's a great guy. He would be so perfect. He doesn't like artificial foods, and he doesn't like pesticides and all the stuff they put on them. And if you listen to him for 10 minutes, I mean, he says other countries that don't do anything are healthier than us, okay? We're not that healthy, to put it mildly. So no artificial foods. We don't want artificial. We have plenty of food. The food isn't our problem. And our farmers are great. And our farmers aren't allowed to do their job. You know, our farmers did great 4 years ago. They were doing just about the best they've ever done. They're not doing well at all now. We're not going to have artificial foods. We don't want artificial foods. We want healthy foods. And a lot of things are going to be going. And I'll tell you, I'm going to have Bobby Kennedy involved in it. He's a great guy. And even the way when I mentioned his name, all you guys, and you're tough cookies. You know, you wouldn't think, sometimes you'd say, maybe you wouldn't like a guy like Bobby. But he's a person that talks more about food and health than anything else. So I think that's cool. So we'll get it taken care of.
That's cool.
You'll be healthier in 4 years from now than you are now. And you look very healthy to me.
There it is. Always great to see that, those short little clips. I got 3 of those I got to pull for part 12 of the Kennedy and Trump clipumentary that I have, and then get rocking and rolling on a somewhat different clipumentary about these two guys. So I'm looking forward to that. Always looking forward to seeing these two guys in the same room together. That is going to be happening tonight, by the way, and hopefully I'll be back here to cover that, at least streaming it, maybe even commenting on it. We'll see. We've made it here through 90 episodes with just 14 days to go in the biggest election of my lifetime, and hopefully of yours too. And I'm hoping the results go a certain way, but you know what? Only God knows for sure, and God is in control of everything. Always has been, always will be. Let's see if there's one more here. This one is in 720. Yeah, I'll play this. Then I want to get to a little bit of the Undertaker and Trump interview.
And presidents overreach their powers and trample on our freedoms, we the people can challenge them before the Supreme Court. It's the court's job to protect those freedoms that the Constitution guarantees. And our freedoms have needed protection many times in American history, but never have they been under such threat as they are today. Government officials, all the way up to the White House, have pressured tech companies to censor what they call misinformation. It turns out that most of that information has actually been true. A government doesn't want to tear a man's tongue out to stop him from lying. They tear a man's tongue out to prevent him from telling the truth. It's actually true. It's just information that they don't like. And that's exactly what authoritarian one-party governments do. There's no freedom of press because they control the press. There's no freedom of speech because they control speech. There's no due legal process because they control the legal process. The courts become a weapon that they use to stifle their opponents. America is turning today into a one-party state, and very fast. So far, the Supreme Court has restrained the censorship industrial complex run by the Democrats. But if the Democrats win this election, they will fill those courts with their own judges, and democracy in this country could be lost. The only hope is for a populist movement to sweep them aside. That's what MAGA can become if enough forward Democrats like me join in defense of the Republic. So no matter what state you live in, please vote Trump. This may be our last chance to protect our Constitution.
I love that Kennedy is out there talking about MAGA. He's a part of the MAGA movement, Make America Healthy Again, too, but he's really a big focus in the MAGA movement. Let me see if there's anything new from President Trump, and you know there is, but let's go ahead and look at some of that too. 2 hours ago, thank you to the incredible Danica Patrick for such a wonderful and heartfelt endorsement. I've always been a fan. Such courage and talent. MAGA loves you. 3 hours ago, U.S. leaked highly confidential documents from Israel may have come from Defense Department. Israel has been seriously damaged and compromised by this. Wartime strategy and data probably came from Defense Department. Must find the leaker. Israel no longer wants to share documents with the U.S., and who can blame them? Who could blame them? U.S. Oil and Gas Association calls out Harris on flip-flopping. She will ban fracking, Pennsylvania, Fox and Friends. If there's anything else. Is this from the North Carolina one? This is a minute. Be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'm happy stand up next to you and defend her still today. But there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. North Carolina. Very cool.
The Biden-Harris administration just admitted they released thousands of illegal immigrants convicted of violent crimes. Kamala lied.
An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
They released murderers.
An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
Human traffickers.
An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
Rapists. All released under Kamala. President Trump warned us he'll deport these thugs, secure the border, and make our streets safe again.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Very good. Well, I think we should get to it. I was trying to see if he had anything on the Christian conference last night. Doesn't look like it. I do want to get this book. We are living history, and there is no better way to envision the future than to remember what has brought us to this moment. My newest book, Save America, illustrates this incredible journey from our first term in the White House to our historic third campaign taking place right now. Get your copy. It's a good book. Looks good, at least. Pretty expensive, though. Manhood is under attack. Why Donald Trump keeps fighting for America, maintaining with Tyrus. I wonder if this is the whole thing or just a clip.
You debated Biden the first time.
This
You
interview
debated him
is
the second
really
time.
good if you have not seen it. So many wrestlers coming out for Trump, speaking for Trump. And let's go ahead and get to one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Obviously, Hulk Hogan is the greatest, but one of the greats, The Undertaker. Let's play a little bit of this. This is from Donald Trump talks pro wrestling and what's at stake in 2024. This is the 6 Feet Under show, number 36. That's The Undertaker there. There is President Donald J. Trump, two Hall of Famers, two WWE Hall of Famers. I don't know who the other guy is. And in one of the promos, I saw Kane there, but I don't know if Kane is actually in this video. Let's see.
Have been married for 14 years.
Good.
Yes.
This is your second marriage?
Well, who counts?
Huh?
Numbers. Numbers.
A second. All right, you can cut that part out. This sounds like it's going to get a little bit too.
I think, I think you could relate. Like we both have kind of maybe outkicked our coverage.
I don't know if I'll get anything for the music, so I may cut a little bit of that just in case. Who knows?
Last time I saw you was at WrestleMania 29 at MetLife.
Right.
You were. I have to kind of apologize. You were there. My family was there,
Right.
and they'd come.
A lot of wrestlers apologizing to President Trump too, which is interesting. Probably for different reasons, but still, lots of Tyrus that we just saw. He was apologizing to President Trump too. And now here's Undertaker apologizing. Hopefully Batista will apologize one day.
To you and asked if you would move one row back so that my family could come watch my match.
Oh, yes.
And you were gracious enough.
But I did it.
You did. You were gracious enough to move back. Well, the problem was, I was like, there's an iconic picture
Right.
of I'm actually laid out on a table and CM Punk's about to drop an elbow on me.
Right.
And I'm looking at this picture, and one of my dearest, closest friends was sitting with my family. His name's David. He works for Georgia Pacific.
Right.
And I'm looking at this picture, and I see him, and then I can see you trying to peek. He's got an enormous head.
Right.
And I could see, I can see you trying to peek around him. And I was like, are you kidding me? You couldn't squat down enough so Mr. Trump could see the match. But anyway, I have to apologize for the enormity of my one of my closest friends' heads.
Well, the big thing, we had the Battle of the Billionaires, and that was with Vince and me, and we each had our wrestler. He had Umaga.
Yeah, Umaga.
We had two good guys, and they wrestled, and fortunately my guy won, and the loser had the hair shaved. I said, I don't want to have my hair shaved. But we actually wrestled a little bit.
You mixed it up a little bit.
It was a pretty famous thing. But I think it has your all-time record for
pay-per-view buys.
For everything.
Yeah, it was a huge event.
Yeah, it was a big one. But you went down just before me. And the entrance into the ring is the greatest entrance into any arena that I've seen, okay? And I don't think it's going to even be topped. The whole thing of the music, the whole deal. And by the way, he's a dynamic guy. When he does this, he's very, slow and easy. And, so you're supposed to act, you're supposed to be a dead man. So, you're acting sort of dead.
Yeah.
And it's one of the greats. And that's why I'm surprised, because you're a quick guy. You move quick. But in the ring, he just sort of moved around. And you left just before us, and the place was going crazy. I said, that's a very tough act to follow. I'm not sure about it. And I didn't realize how big you were. I figured you were big, but not that big. So I'm standing with Vince, and they had other wrestlers in the room. It's like essentially the green room,
right,
up high.
Right.
And You walked by me and said, "Hello, sir." And I said, "This guy is really big." How tall are you, by the way?
Right now, probably I've lost a little bit through the years, but I'm right at 6'8".
6'8".
Yeah, my disc have been a little bit compressed through the years.
You get compressed. Well, that's normal. They say you get compressed and your feet get bigger. Did you ever hear that?
Well, I've always had big feet. My dad used
you do
to.
have big
My dad used to tell me. He said, "You'd have been tall, boy, if you hadn't to give up so much for foundation."
That's right.
So,
But I said, this guy is really big. And you were wrestling a good guy that night. Do you remember?
I do remember
He was a good specimen guy. And it was great. But I said, how do we beat this, Vince? What are you doing? Why don't we go before them? We should go before them. But we had that was a great evening. And I think it said, I don't know if it still has, I think it still has your record.
It was, it was a big night. It was in Detroit. Yeah. And,
well, I have a son who's 6'9". Can you imagine? I have a son who's an inch taller than if you're saying, so you were probably at super height 6'9".
Yeah, I was probably 6'9". Right there at 6'9".
So 6'9", like 360?
330. I kind of topped out at 330. That was, I felt like that was my.
And what do you weigh now?
I'm probably 305 right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not bad, right?
No, it's easier. I'm trying not to replace any more joints. So.
As a wrestler, you really lose a lot of joints, don't you? You really have.
Yeah. I mean, the body's not made to take that on and then, most people don't realize the schedule that we kept back then too, which was on the road over 200 days a year. And that's in the ring. So
how do you, I've always wondered, because it's whether it's, fun or, entertainment, or you're still getting slammed around, right?
Yeah.
Does that ring take great absorption? In other words,
well, it's funny that when Vince started getting in the ring and mixing it up a little bit, the rings got a little bit softer.
Yeah, right.
Before that, it would be just like taking a fall on this floor. I mean, they were really hard.
Well, how did you do that? So that was, wow, that's a.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing, and you just condition your body to it where you don't even, after you do it so much, you just don't even think about it.
How often did it, I mean, I know you're supposed to interview me, but I find it very interesting. How often did it happen where somebody gets really angry? In other words, you hit a guy accidentally the wrong way or something, and he's had it. And these are tough guys to start off with. They're not babies. How often did it happen where
conversation.
you're fighting somebody and you made a mistake and he gets angry and he really goes at you?
Yeah, back in the day, like, so I started with Vince in 1990, but before that, in the late 80s and stuff like that, guys were really salty. And they didn't take too many, you're supposed to be a professional.
Right.
And usually guys you think, well, if he hit me like that, then, it's for a reason. So, they'd mix it up in the ring for a little bit, and then they'd get back in the locker room.
And what would happen? The guys would run into the ring and stop it, right? I was told when you had a lot of guys running into the ring, that usually meant that there was a problem.
Usually, when that happens, it's part of the show. When guys are actually,
what stops somebody from going nuts and really, really starting a real fight?
Yeah, probably losing their job. Yeah, I mean, you have to. What we do is hard enough, but if you go in there and start taking liberties with somebody, and are starting trouble and having fights, you're not going to be around long. I mean, you have to have a cohesive unit of guys. You don't have to like each other. I think it's like politics. You don't have to like each other, but you have to be professional enough to work with each other.
Did you like some of these guys a lot, or not really?
Yes, no. A lot of the guys I'm really close with, and then there's some guys that I don't care much for, but it's kind of like the way I wish politics would get back to.
Yeah.
I may not agree with you.
When it comes to dealing with a crisis situation, preparedness is everything, because it's not if.
But I can share a dressing room with you. I can shake your hand, and we can do business. And that's how it is. There's some guys that you kind of naturally you gravitate towards and become friends with. And I had a group of guys that we.
So how many years have you done it?
So I had a in-ring career of right at 35 years.
I mean, that's amazing. And you're still in one piece. Right?
I'm in one piece. I got some new parts. I got some new knees. I got new hips.
Does every wrestler end up essentially having to get new parts?
At some point, usually you're going to have something that needs to be replaced. There's very few guys that get out unscathed, and that's.
You ever get hurt so badly that you basically can't continue the match, and you got to be like literally helped out and carried out?
It happens. It happens, and it's just part of what most people don't realize, Mr. President, is that although we're entertainment, but in any given match, you're 2 inches away from something really catastrophic happening.
Absolutely.
And then when you figure the amount of dates per year that you work, I mean, that really goes up exponentially. The risk factor.
So you'd work 200 days a year.
I had an 8-year stretch where I averaged about 220 days a year,
and that you can just keep going.
You just kind of get in that zone. Your body kind of gets used to the trauma, and you don't feel right. Actually, if you go home for too long, you kind of get restless, and your body feels too good, and you think, I got to go back to work.
That's great. Well, you had a great career.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do.
People love you. That's why. So I heard they said, and I heard you were a fan. I don't want to say, but I heard you were like a political fan of mine, and I appreciated that. But I said he was such an incredible athlete entertainer, because it's an entertainer. You have a lot of great athletes that can't entertain. You might as well forget it in your sport, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of, and that's what most people don't really grasp. I mean, you can be a great athlete and not excel. You've got to have the whole package. You have to basically, and I think you've been a master of this, you got to make people care. You got to make them care one way or another. Either they love you or they hate you.
So who do you think, outside of you, who do you think was the greatest combination of athlete, entertainer, et cetera, et cetera? Who was the greatest of the couple of greatest that you've seen?
My goodness, there's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Right.
He was up there. You'd have to put Hulk Hogan in there,
Right.
and Ric Flair.
Right.
Those are guys that just kind of off the top of my head could captivate you with what they had to say, deliver a performance in the ring, and then
Now you were much too young. Haystacks Calhoun, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? Did you ever? You were too young.
Yeah. I think a little before my time.
But he weighed like 500 and something.
He was a big man. He was a big man.
He was a big one.
Yeah.
Let's see. You had a lot of beauties out there.
I had my share of giants. That Vince used to feed them all to me when I first came up. Like if there was a giant, there was a monster.
Right.
They were coming my way first, and if I could work with them, then he would let Hogan or somebody else work. But I had to break them in.
Mark, in an economy like this,
Yes,
something that you and I hate more than anything is debt.
hate debt.
Debt is a bad thing. It's bad for our society. It's bad for the citizens. It's just bad for your finances.
It's bad for business.
Bad for business. Debt is a bad thing. But we partnered up with some friends of ours over at PDS. And let me tell you something. It's a very uncomfortable situation when you talk about debt. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Nobody wants to talk about debt.
Nobody wants to talk about it, but it's time.
The business itself is in a really, really, really good spot. And then, we just had the merger with UFC and TKO.
Good.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's been.
Do you know Dana White?
I know Dana.
Will you be working with Dana at all? Or?
No, they're separate companies, but under.
So who's running it? Who's running it?
Ari Emanuel is
Ari's excellent.
Yeah, he's the big dog, and Dana runs the UFC side, and then Nick Khan, he runs the WWE side.
Good. It's a very different kind of a thing, but very similar, actually, right?
It is. It really is. Obviously,
how do you do revenues there versus UFC? Is it
our revenue? I mean, right now it is crazy. They are selling out.
Your revenue. Your revenue.
My revenue.
Meaning for the wrestling.
Oh yeah, for wrestling,
well.
it's doing crazy.
Maybe better than ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that incredible?
It really is. Sold out everywhere, and we're doing a lot of international stuff now. Merchandise.
So does that compare with UFC then in terms of revenue?
I don't really, I don't know their numbers very well, but I know that the stock is doing really well, and the company as a whole is doing really well.
It outperforms everyone on social media as well.
It's always
so the WWE social media outperforms NFL, MLB,
Really, huh?
NBA, everyone.
Wow.
Yes, over 100 million subscribers.
These are
on
the
YouTube.
characters. In other words, these are the people. Like your social media is very big, right?
I guess I'm not.
You're not into it.
Is my social media?
It's pretty big. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's still
Who's
so,
the biggest on social media?
The Rock.
Oh, The Rock is Dwayne Johnson.
You know, he was great. I never thought he liked me, and I felt badly because I think he's a terrific guy. And then Dana White said, when I was shot, took a shot to the ear. You may have heard about it.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you
I
about
heard
it.
some
Actually.
rumblings about this. Yes.
Rock called Dana and said, I want to have his number. I want to have his number. What he did is sort of incredible. He considered it bravery. I don't know. To me, I considered it like, what's going on here? But it was very nice, actually, The Rock. So you might mention that I said that. Do you speak to him?
Occasionally, I saw him. I saw him in April. I was going to ask you.
He's doing great, right?
Yeah, he's a workaholic. There's no dust settles on him.
Yeah.
He's got his hands in a lot of different things. I was going to ask you. I mean, you're a billionaire.
Yeah.
You've got a beautiful wife, very intelligent. You've got a wonderful family. And you got people shooting at you. You don't have to do this.
That's true.
I mean,
I don't have to.
You don't have to do
I
this.
say, what am I doing? Sometimes, why am I doing this?
But you are.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think, people get in the media and everything else. They get everything so twisted. But it takes a special human being to sit on a podium, take a bullet, and get up bleeding with your hand raised in the air.
Yeah.
And let them know that, the moment right now it is bigger than that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what possesses you to put your life on the line when you don't have to?
Yeah.
You have a wonderful life and you've got a tremendous legacy.
Beyond that, I sometimes joke with the crowds because we get very big crowds. We had 107,000 in Butler. That's where the accident took place. We had 55,000 when we went back a couple of months later. We had just the other, 2 weeks ago, we had 107,000. We had 101,000 in California.
It's incredible.
3 days ago. Big crowds. And, abnormally big because no politician ever had these crowds. I don't even know what it is exactly. I can't explain it. Why am I getting, it's like, why? But I sometimes say, I don't have to be here with you. I could be in Monte Carlo and the beaches. I could have everything. I don't need this. But I'd rather be in Butler, Pennsylvania with you, and it's true, actually. Because, look, I have a lot of wealthy friends and they go to these places and, most of them are unhappy and all that stuff. But, I feel I have a purpose, and that's to rebuild our country. This country is doing so badly. The border, I mean, I don't know what your politics are or is, but your politics, just common sense. We have murderers pouring into our country. We have drug dealers pouring in. Just the border. There's many things wrong, but just the border. I think the border is worse than inflation. I think it's the biggest thing. To me, it's, like we're now in the middle. I don't know when this is going on, and I wish you luck with it. I know you're going to get high ratings. I used to think I was a big person, but I don't feel so big standing next to this guy. This guy is big.
Well,
but my son would feel better, although he's not quite as wide as you, I will say.
He'll grow into it.
He will be.
Yeah.
He will be someday. But I feel I have an obligation to do this. I had 4 great years. We had the best economy we've ever had as a country. We had the strongest borders we've ever had in recorded history. I guess they might have been very strong 1,000 years ago or something. But we had the strongest borders. We were hitting on all. I rebuilt the military, got the biggest tax cuts in history, got the biggest regulation cuts, and is really doing great. And then we had a crazy election where I did much better than the first time. And if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't have done this, because it showed that there's a lot of love out there. Got hit with COVID, you know, the whole thing, the whole world got hit with COVID, which is the China virus to be exact, but, and got hit hard. There's never been anything like it. Who would have ever thought the word pandemic? I heard the word, but you never thought it was like a modern day. You figure nowadays you take a shot and you're fine, right? It goes, everyone is fine. But we had it's an ancient form of a disease. In 2017, it killed 100 million people. And we could have lost 100 million people too pretty easily. We lost many millions of people all over the world. So I got hit with that. We had a crazy election, which was, I won't get into it because I don't want to get you in any controversy, because you like no controversy. That election was so
There's not too many people.
We're here.
There's not too many people trying to argue with this guy.
No, that election, that's good. Nobody's going to say, hey, let's take it outside, right? No, but so I got more votes than any sitting president in the history of the country by millions, right? And they say we didn't win. You know, it was a version, but it was a COVID thing. Look, you couldn't get security. Nobody wanted to go outside. Big guys like you would say, I'm not going to be secure. You couldn't get anybody. It was like people didn't want to die.
Right.
It was it was right in the middle of that. And now I'm running again and I'm leading. And I beat Biden, and they saw he was getting beaten. It's sort of like, it's a little unfair, and it's sort of not really what democracy is all about. But Biden got 14 million votes. He deserved to run it out and see. And they took it away. They actually took away his presidency, if you think about it. It was
Can your winter jacket generate heat at the touch of a button? This ingenious heated jacket can go from 77 to 113 degrees Fahrenheit in just 3 seconds, so you won't ever have to waste your time layering up to fight the cold again. It was invented by a former Boeing engineer from Seattle, and it's already spreading across the US like wildfire. James designed this innovative heated vest after a severe winter storm knocked out the power in his neighborhood, leaving him and his young children shivering in their home. This ordeal made him realize the need for a personal heating solution that could work without relying on external power, so he decided to take matters into his own hands. The result is an ingenious invention that's sending the $35 billion outdoor clothing market into.
We call it a coup, but they actually took away his presidency and they gave it to this one. And this one is worse than him. And we're leading now, but we have to see if we can do it. We got to do it. With him, I was leading by a lot. It was sort of over. And they went to him and they said, you're not going to win, and we're going to replace you. Think of that.
I mean, that's a coup.
No, they took it away. Okay, now think of me. I spent $150 million. We're raging. We're doing great. We're against Biden. We have the debate. It was a good debate. He goes down, and now I have to fight somebody else. That's like you going into the ring, and you're beating the hell out of somebody, and they call up and they say, get that guy out of the ring or put somebody else in for a while.
Yeah.
Right. You got to fight two guys instead of one.
It's a good analogy.
So anyway, so we have a second one that we started. Well, no, but the whole focus was on this one man, because it's a one man, it's one thing. And then the debate was like a big deal, and that's over. And you think you have it won, and all of a sudden they replace. And then the new person always has a honeymoon period. So she got 6 weeks of a honeymoon period. Everybody thought good. They didn't think good of her before. In fact, she was the last of 13 people that was going to be chosen, but they wanted to be politically correct. So they picked this person, and she's not qualified. She got no votes. She dropped out. She ran against Biden and she dropped out. She got no votes. They had 13 people. She was number 13, and they picked her. And I guess that's okay. I don't know. The process is pretty crazy. When they say threat to democracy, that's really a threat to democracy.
Yeah,
I'm not a threat to democracy. That is.
I guess you need to ask Joe Biden what a threat to democracy is at this point.
Oh,
right?
He's an angry guy.
So, Mr. President, with the fact that, in the polls right now, you've got Fox, you got CNN, you got all these different polls out there that nobody really knows what to trust and what not to trust. But there's polls out there like with Polymarket where people could literally bet on the actual election, and it's from the people. You're up by 20%. Now, a month ago, you were only up by 10%, and there's been over $2.1 billion that has been put on you to win this election from the people. And you've tweeted about it. You've been talking about Polymarket. why do you think there's been such a swing in this and the odds right now of you winning over Vice President Harris?
Yeah, I think they got to know her, that she's incompetent, that she's a Marxist. You could say communist. A lot of people don't know what a Marxist is. But they say, could you use another word? I said, how about communist?
Doesn't get any better, does it?
I don't think you're a big communist fan.
No,
what do
I'm
you
not.
think?
No.
I don't think he is. I hang out with him a good bit. I don't think he is.
I'm from Texas. We don't have those there.
Yeah. When I first met you, you were walking down getting ready to walk down to the ring. And I was surprised at how big you were. And the other wrestlers were in the room. And I was going to be following him. And they all called him Taker. And they said, it was sort of cool. They said, have a good time, Taker. They were talking about Taker. And I said, that's a cool name. They don't call him Undertaker. They say, they're your friends. Right?
Yep.
The other wrestlers are sitting around waiting. And they're saying, have a good time, Taker. He said, I will indeed. I will indeed. I said, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Taker's a
Do
little
they
easy.
call you Taker?
Yeah, they either call me Taker or Dead Man.
Yeah,
those are a couple of my
Dead men.
But yeah. Thank you, DraftKings, for sponsoring this episode. UFC 308 is coming down this weekend in the Octagon, and you are not going to want to miss it. You could make fight night even more exciting by getting into the action with my partners at DraftKings. And right now, all new customers who bet $5 will instantly get $200.
That's a great value.
That's $200 in bonus bets, buddy.
Can't beat it.
That's big time from DraftKings right there. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up using my promo code 6 feet.
Yes, sir.
The crown is yours. Money.
Thank you, DraftKings.
I was going to, not to go back to a sore subject, but back to Butler. I was curious if you were going to have maybe a portrait made out of the chart and hang it on the wall at Mar-a-Lago.
There have been so many portraits, and some are genius and some are terrible. It's got to be the most, look, it's amazing because I'm alive. It's not supposed to be, you're not supposed to be alive for iconic. But they say it's the most. I think Iwo Jima was right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
They took a lot of bullets.
Yes.
Putting up the flag, right? But I will say that I have never seen anything like it. I get paintings every day for paintings. Some are really good, and some aren't good. Some are not great artists. But I've never seen anything like it. Actually, I had that with my mugshot, but to a lesser extent. The mugshot was big.
That was a big seller.
The mugshot. I had the mugshot. So who was number one was Elvis Presley. Did you know that he was arrested for something? And that was the biggest. And then Frank Sinatra was second. A lot of big mugshots. He got into a brawl had to do with the booze and women.
They'll do it every time.
And that can do it
every time.
It's a bad combination, right? That'll do it.
That'll do it.
Never for you, though.
No, sir.
Are you a drinker at all?
I've been known to partake in a drink or two. Not as much now as I used to, but I've pulled it back a little.
So we had that crazy mugshot, and as soon as I saw it, I said, "That's really unusual." When I went in, I said, "I wonder, do I smile and say screw you, or do I just act angry?" And I thought the smile wasn't appropriate. A lot of people said, "You know what you do? Just smile." So I was scowling. And he knows all about scowling. That's what he did. He scowled.
I made a career out of scowling.
I made a big career out of scowling. But anyway, so I did. But that thing went crazy. It was like 400 million hits. But this picture, I think, is even maybe bigger, right? It's
such a,
I see myself being shot every single day, no matter when. Now, I just left, I was watching something, and they have this picture on the whole act, the whole thing, where, from the time you get shot, and I'm following my hand down, and somebody obviously is screaming, "Get down, it's bullets," right? Because otherwise it's almost too perfect because of the way you followed it.
Right.
But I look at my hand, there's blood all over my hand. I said, That's either the biggest mosquito in history or I got shot.
You know, Butler's got some big mosquitoes, right?
Butler's, yeah, probably does.
Mr. President, what was the conversation with your family afterwards, though? Because that's a scary situation.
I knew that it's funny, you know, the surreal experience kind of thing.
Right.
Where, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but a lot of people do, where something happens that's so big. And don't forget, I had thousands and more than you have in wrestling matches, you know, times 3. If you fill up an arena, you know, I had thousands of people out there. So number one, it's sort of embarrassing. You know, you're speaking and all of a sudden you're getting down on the floor. A lot of amazing things happen. Number one, you could call them fans, but the Patriots, they're really Patriots. They didn't move. And there were a lot of shots fired, at least 8, right? It's a lot. And the crowd control experts said that, one in particular said it's amazing because when they hear bullets, they know bullets, the fans break up and they stampede. And they really stampede.
Between oat milk and almond milk, which should I drink?
Neither. This is a protein drink. You've got almond butter. Almonds have a
and people get killed from nobody left. You saw that with a small group behind me. You know, the group behind me was relatively small. The people were all out there. Thousands of, you couldn't even see the end of it. And when I got hit, I went down, and then Secret Service was very brave. I have to say, they were all jumping on top, and the bullets were flying right at him. And then he got taken out by the sniper. The sniper got him from a long distance, one shot. Amazing.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get him, you got a lot of people dead. But the Secret Service sniper was amazing. And we believe also the local police hit the barrel of the rifle and splintered the hell out of it. But if they don't get him, and they got him. But if they don't get him, you probably have a lot of dead. We lost 1, and 2 were very badly hurt. We thought they were both going to be gone, and they both made it. Great doctors, doctors. You know, country type doctors, right? They were great. You couldn't have had any better. They saved them. They're good. But it was surprisingly, you know, when I think back on it, I was on the floor. I had blood pouring all over the place. You would know this better than anybody in the world, probably. They say when your ear gets damaged, it's the bloodiest thing.
It's very bloody, yeah.
And it has to do with cartilage. If your ear gets cut or damaged, it's very bloody, and you know you probably
I've had mine split.
More so than like anything else, which is surprising. But I was loaded up with blood, but I was down, and they thought I got hit numerous times all over the place. And I said, nope, I got the ear. I want to get up. Get me up. I'm screaming, where are my shoes? Because my shoes got knocked off. When they jumped, I mean, they hit pretty hard. They were there fast. They were very brave.
They were.
And I don't know how that happened, but my shoes got ripped off. So, it wasn't a surreal experience. I knew everything that was happening. It was amazing. Did you see the one where my face was just off the ground and the blood's pouring all over the place?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these are some crazy shots. This was not supposed to be my life. This is supposed to be his life. Okay,
I don't mind bleeding. I'd just rather it not come from bullets.
So, Mark, you know, we had to look good for today.
They were really good ones. It was hot as a pistol then. It's sort of always been hot, but I think it was really hot. And I don't think I did the first one, but I did maybe 3 and 4.
3 and 4. It's the only time that it's been in the same place 2 years in a row.
3 and 4. In fact, it was so good.
4
I
and
wanted
5.
the second one, right? But
Trump hosted WrestleMania 4 and WrestleMania 5 back to back. The only time that's ever been done back to back, unless you include WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 2, where WrestleMania 1 happened in Madison Square Garden and WrestleMania 2 happened in 3 venues, and Madison Square Garden was one of those. So technically, you could go back and forth. But as far as full events back to back, it's only been done once. Trump Plaza, WrestleMania 4, which was the tournament, the big tournament to crown a new champion after the shenanigans between Andre the Giant and the twin referees, the evil Hebner referee storyline, which was awesome. And then WrestleMania 5, where Hulk Hogan gets his title back. against Randy Macho Man Savage, his brother, who turned on him because of jealousy. Good storylines, good stuff there. I still, the first 10 WrestleManias are probably still my favorite ones. And WrestleMania 4 and WrestleMania 5, you'll see Trump sitting out there front row through the whole thing. No bathroom breaks for that guy.
And it was a tremendous success. It was great. And really, Dana White and Vince are really two guys. They're very unique people. Dana's incredible.
Yeah.
And different, it's different kinds. It's actually a much different product in a certain way, even though it's,
No,
the
no, it
finest
is.
stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a much
completely-
different
yeah.
product. But they sort of have some qualities that are very, very similar. But Dana's done an unbelievable job, and Vince preceded him by a little bit. But boy, what a job he did!
Yeah, he really did create just a global juggernaut with WWE, and
So the combination sounds like it's a good combination, right?
so far it's really been amazing, and I think they've only really scratched the surface to how far this is going to go. I mean,
Well, Linda McMahon I picked, who really helped Vince a lot over the years. A lot of people don't know that, and she's a fantastic woman. She's been a big supporter from the moment, from the very beginning. And she was the head of small businesses, which is big business, basically,
Right.
small business administration. And she did a fantastic job. Everybody loves her, special woman. And I know she was involved with the WWE. So it used to be WWF, right?
Yes, sir.
And they just couldn't get that name back, which was amazing, right? They couldn't.
Well, I
Did
think
it make a
eventually-
difference? Do you think it made a difference? WWE, WW. Now I guess with time it's okay.
With time, it's
but it
just
was
kinda-
hard to get used to it.
Yeah,
right?
at first, yeah, it really was. I just think he was, he got into the big deal with I think it was the World Wildlife Fund, and I just think he was like, he seized the moment and said, you know what, it's time for a little bit of change, and it wasn't worth fighting it in the court and tying all that
And
up.
they were being absolutely very tough, right?
Yeah, and I don't think anybody was going to confuse World Wrestling Federation with the World Wildlife Fund. I mean, they were it was just semantics. I think
Did he lose that case?
he just chose not to. He just let it go, and
well, in
that's
the
why.
end, he did the right thing. But I remember at the beginning, it was so awkward to say WWE, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
It was
went
really
from,
unbelievable.
because originally it was the WWF,
Yeah.
and then they took a W off, and then it was like a whole new facelift kind of a deal with the WWE. We changed our branding and the way everything looked, so it ended up working out for the better.
So tell me, what are you doing here with this stuff? So you have a big name, you have a lot of fans.
Mhm.
When you asked me to do this, I said I'm going to do it because I'm a fan. I really think you've done a great job. What is this? So tell me what this is all about.
So
it's a platform.
Have you ever seen a recorder that supports voice and voice-activated manual touchscreen with 4K front and rear dual ultra clear?
My podcast. This guy here, I don't know, 8 years ago, he works for a veteran-owned and operated company, Nine Line. Very patriotic.
Best apparel company ever.
And
what is it? Best what?
Apparel company ever.
Oh, really? Is that right?
We're veteran owned and operated. Yes, sir.
Oh.
Give back charity. Built 50 tiny homes for
Oh.
homeless veterans.
What apparel is it? What kind of?
It's patriotic apparel. It's just t-shirts.
So you know all about the Trump apparel, then, right?
Yes, sir. We actually made a shirt for Corey, who was tragically killed in Butler that day, and
I see.
we were able to raise a lot of money for his
Wow.
family. Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, but
we
we
raised-
teamed up with this guy who used to wear our shirts, and
So how long has that been going? How is it?
So we've known each other for what
7, 8 years.
7, 8 years, and he says, you got this platform. Yeah. Like I wrestled. I'm a wrestler. I did it for over 30 years, and he's like, he says, you've got this huge platform. You need to do something with it. And my wife was the same way.
So I wish I had more time to play the whole thing here, but I can only go a few more minutes. And I did want to get to just one of the last few things here. But that's a great interview. Hopefully everybody has seen that. And I wanted to play just a little bit of this here too. This is where they was like, where's Kane? I thought Kane was going to be part of this. Well, Kane wasn't part of the interview, as you can see there, but he was sitting right next to Trump and Undertaker during this awesome promo where they talk. I haven't heard them talk about Batista in the actual interview yet, but this is great stuff here.
Choice is yours. You can go with fifth, election mania. Choice is yours. You can go with President Trump, Kane, and The Undertaker, or you can take Kamala Harris, Dave Batista, and Tim Walz. Choose wisely. The nation depends on it.
And that should be an easy choice.
All right, fifth, election.
That's great stuff. That's awesome. Just wanted to play that quickly. And then finally, let's finish out with this. This just came out today about some very important issues. I'm just going to read a little bit of this here. Fox News. Trump sends letter to CBS demanding unedited 60 Minutes Harris transcript, teases potential lawsuit. Former President Trump sent a letter to CBS News demanding it release the unedited transcript of its 60 Minutes interview with Vice President Kamala Harris, Fox News Digital has learned. In a copy of the letter obtained by Fox Digital, Trump's legal counsel, Edward Polsnick, writing on behalf of Trump, said that CBS News intentionally misled the public by broadcasting a skillfully edited interview transcript aimed at causing confusion among the electorate regarding Vice President Kamala Harris's abilities, intelligence, and appeal. News organizations such as CBS have a responsibility to accurately represent the truth of events, not distort an interview to try to make their preferred candidate appear coherent and decisive, which Harris most certainly is not, the attorney wrote. Due to CBS's actions, the public cannot distinguish which Kamala Harris they are seeing, the candidate or the puppet of a behind-the-scenes editor. The letter comes after 60 Minutes released a statement declaring Trump's accusation that it deceptively edited the Harris interview was false. But Trump's legal team has doubled down. President Trump is rightly alleging that CBS's doctoring of Harris's answers on 60 Minutes was deceptive. The allegation is not simply that CBS was dishonest. It is that CBS deceived viewers into thinking Harris's answer was, at the very least, as CBS put it, more succinct than the word salad it actually was, Polsnick wrote. The executive and producers at CBS and 60 Minutes in particular are unquestionably aware that the purpose behind editing the interview was to confuse the electorate and portray the vice president in a better light than a full, unedited transcript would reveal. Responsible news sources must be held accountable to the highest standards. We therefore demand that you immediately provide and publicly release the full unedited transcript of the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris. Additionally, in contemplation of possible litigation, we demand that you preserve all communications and documents relating to this interview, together with any edits of the interview's content, and that you refrain from destroying any relevant communications or documents. Wow. Kindly confirm receipt of this letter within 48 hours and further confirm your intention to cooperate with these demands, the letter continues. No surprise here, CBS did not immediately respond to Fox News's request for comment. 60 Minutes attempted to explain the discrepancy between what aired during a preview clip on Face the Nation and what aired during its primetime election special the next day. 60 Minutes gave an excerpt of our interview to Face the Nation that used a longer section of her answer than that on 60 Minutes. Same question, same answer, but a different portion of the response, the network said on Sunday. When we edit any interview, whether a politician, an athlete, or a movie star, we strive to be clear, accurate, and on point. The portion of her answer on 60 Minutes was more succinct, which allows time for other subject in a wide-ranging 21-minute long segment. CBS News appeared to swipe the former president for not sitting down with 60 Minutes, writing, "Remember, Mr. Trump pulled out of his interview with 60 Minutes and the vice president participated," adding that their invitation for an interview remains open. Harris was mocked by conservatives for offering a lengthy word salad when she was asked why it seemed like Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't listening to the U.S. "Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by, as a result of many things, including in our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region," Harris responded in the Face the Nation clip. However, a shorter, more focused answer from the vice president was shown to the same question the following night. "We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need of this war to end," Harris said in the primetime special. Trump took to Truth Social earlier on Monday, writing, when will CBS release their transcript of the fraudulent interview with Comrade Kamala Harris? They changed her answer in order to make Kamala look intelligent rather than dumb as a rock. This may be the biggest scandal in broadcast history. CBS must get the transcript out now. Litigation has already started. Harris wasn't able to put two sentences together, so they completely removed her answer and put in another one. The public has a right to know what was changed to save this totally unfit presidential candidate from our country's voters. She is a threat to democracy. And there it is. All right, and I will leave you all with that. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll be back later on this evening to cover the town hall that will be with Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, and the man, RFK Jr. Looking forward to that. God bless you all. Have a great day. Remember, Jesus loves you.